Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Shifting Gears. My name's Grayson Harris. That's Corey Smith. We're here to bring you all the latest and greatest in transportation news and insights. And we're going to start with our favorite topic around here, almost by coincidence, is Elon Musk. We don't do it on purpose. He just sort of shows up all over the place in our job. And now he is working on a new venture with SpaceX called Starship. Now, Corey, what Starship is essentially the heaviest rocket we've ever tried to put into orbit. Don't put it past Elon Musk to push the limits.
Right.
Now, there was supposed to be a launch, I believe it was last Tuesday. Was that what it was? I think it was last Tuesday they were supposed to launch. I was actually watching the live stream and was disappointed when, I think it was about 8 minutes until launch, they had to scrap it. And then in true Elon Musk fashion, they rescheduled for April 20th.
Right. It only makes sense, right?
Of course. And let's see here. So this thing was 394 feet tall. And in just under 4 minutes after it actually did lift off on Thursday, it had what SpaceX described as a rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Pretty fancy way of saying it fell apart.
Yeah, it's
exploded.
It's a unique euphemism for we blew up our rocket.
Yeah. It's not the first time they've done it.
No, but oddly enough, this was considered a success by SpaceX, basically a successful failure. This was really just a test to see, what could go wrong, right? You don't really send up a test in its first, you don't send up a rocket in its first test and expect it to go perfectly, unless there's people on it, in which case, I hope so. So what they did accomplish, however, was one of the one things that they set out for before they even launched it. And this is a quote from Elon Musk. Just don't blow up the launch pad. Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't blow up the launch pad, they just blew up the rocket. So Starship has until 2025 to stop exploding. That is when SpaceX is hoping to use Starship as means for transportation to the moon and beyond, even Mars, hopefully, as they've been talking about so much. NASA is paying SpaceX about $3 billion to use Starship as its lunar lander. So NASA and SpaceX working together here. This is really one of the more glaring examples of private companies and, in this case, government companies working together to take on what is still considered the final frontier. So the big picture of this is Starship is meant to fly, just not right now. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to reach the speed that it has to, escape velocity, to get out of the atmosphere. I mean, just think of, the heat and how fast that thing's moving. For it to be the largest spacecraft attempted to exit the atmosphere, I mean, it's trial and error. I mean, we haven't been back to the moon, it's been 40 years or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
So 50.
50 probably.
50, I think,
so,
yeah.
I mean, at least they're testing this stuff unmanned before they go forward. Well, I also know that the explosion sent debris 6 miles in every direction.
That's wild.
And there are ecosystems, and it even went into the Atlantic Ocean and stuff. So they're kind of worried about
the pollution there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it even landed in some town called Little Isabel or something like that.
It landed in the town. I didn't even see
about like I said, 6 miles away. So it was a pretty big explosion.
Well, Corey, what you got? You got any better news for us?
Sort of on the note of pollution.
Okay.
So I don't know how many of you are big on fashion. I know my boy Grayson here is. Look at him; he's always matching. He's always got some kicks on. He's not the only one. There are a few sneakerheads around here.
It's true. Big competition around the office.
Right. So from the year 2000 to 2015, the production of clothes doubled to more than 100 billion garments. That is. And the World Economic Forum estimated that in 2016, that number actually went up and is closer to 150 billion garments every year. That's annually. So the fashion industry contributes 20% of industrial water pollution, 30% of microplastic pollution in the ocean, and anywhere from 3 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions. Wow. So adding on to that, I'm sure some of you at least have heard of this excess inventory problem that's going across with retailers.
Kind of started towards the end of 2022. Inventories were building up.
Well, it even goes back previous to that, but companies that have all this excess inventory, they'll just burn it and they'll just discard it. They will literally burn it. Just chaos. So luxury companies like Burberry, they burned up to $38 million of their inventory back in 2017 in order to protect the brand, was what they said.
That's what I was going to ask you, actually, is what would be the point in burning this as opposed to donating? And you're saying protect the brand.
So they don't want it ending up in some little thrift store, that would make it look like it's valued less than whatever it actually is. So following that decision, Burberry got with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is a nonprofit focused on moving companies towards a circular economy. If you don't know what a circular economy is, you can check out our most recent blog that we mentioned it in on reshoring and manufacturing. But anyway, so Burberry is actually not on the foundation's list of partners, though. And the foundation did not comment on if Burberry is still a partner. So it might have just kind of been a PR thing to say, oh, we're going to work on it from now on since you busted us for burning $38 million worth of watches.
Just covering themselves.
Yeah, exactly. But on the same note, so inventory management in retail and clothing companies. So Levi Strauss's inventory growth was 58% at the end of last year. And in order to combat that, they invested in their own enterprise resource planning, or ERP. It's a software program that allows for better visibility and insight into their distribution centers and stores. And by the end of Q1 of this year, so just like last month, their inventory growth was down to 33%. So they were able to drop that down 25 percentage points just by having better visibility of what's being sold, how much excess resources they have in their distribution centers and their manufacturing. Really just, again, visibility, knowing what they've got, how much is being sold in stores. There's peak seasons, there's slower seasons. They analyze all of that. So if anything is to be coming of that, don't burn your inventory.
This is not the market to, first of all, one, waste inventory that you didn't use, or two, this is not the market to go into this and not have a plan for what your inventory should be.
Unless you're Adidas and you have a bunch of Yeezus, then you can probably burn those.
I don't think they planned on that one. To be fair, they didn't plan on anything Kanye was doing.
Of course not.
But it does open up, I think, an interesting discussion on, sort of setting your expectations for what 2023 is going to be. We're coming off of this incredible high from transportation of people emerging from their homes, goods at a all-time high demand, and as we saw, I'd say halfway through 2022, it just started to finally go back down and sort of level out to what we considered normal before the pandemic. It just seems so dire now because for almost 3 years we had this unprecedented growth that we thought was going to become the new normal. And in many ways it did until, eventually everything that goes up must come down, right? And this is kind of where we are now. So I think hopefully this is a sign that industries and shippers are taking some of this stuff a bit more seriously and considering not only how much waste is going to affect their bottom line, which is really all they care about, but how much that affects the environment and other people. Whatever it took to get us here, here we are.
Here we are. Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
What else you got for us?
So, Corey, the Oakland Athletics, they're a baseball team out of, you guessed it, Oakland, California. They have been there since, 60s, probably 50s, 60s.
I mean, they were the Moneyball team,
Yeah, absolutely, Gotta love seeing some Brad Pitt, man. The Oakland Athletics have been looking for a new stadium for as long as I've been alive. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about the stadium that they play in. They play in what's called the Coliseum, the Oakland Coliseum. And back when they had the Oakland Raiders there, the football team, the Raiders and the Athletics shared the stadium. Okay, so in that 1 or 2 month overlap where there's baseball and football season going on, you would watch a football game, for example, and you would see the infield dirt still on the field. Like in the middle of the 50-yard line, there's just dirt. And then you go to see, and then you go watch a baseball game, and the whole time you're watching, you're like, something's off. Because it's a football stadium that they made into a baseball stadium, that they made into a football stadium, that made back into a baseball stadium.
It's not right.
It was just never working. Even though, and so this Oakland Coliseum issue is actually a bigger it's actually sort of a microcosm for the entire problem that's going on in Oakland, at least with sports teams, is they don't seem to want them very much. I believe, and I don't have the exact stat on me, so don't crucify me here, but I think it was as early as a few years ago, Oakland had like four or five pro teams.
Yeah.
Well, and
now they're all going to Las Vegas.
And now they're going to Las Vegas. That's where this story is going right here. So the Oakland Athletics finally seem to have a plan. And the reason this is transportation based, don't worry, we're swinging it back.
We're getting there.
We're going to swing back around to it. Don't worry. The Oakland Athletics are going to be probably moving to Vegas. They bought a plot of land over there to build a stadium. Now, this is not the first time that the Athletics have, first of all, considered moving. That's been a thing for a long time. But this is the first time that they've actually bought some land and seemed very serious about it. And this is going to be the last of the Oakland sports teams. I mean, there was 4 of them a few years ago. Now there's 0. Vegas a few years ago had 0 sports teams. Now they have 6. So it seems as though all the money is heading in that direction. Now, I promised you this had something to do with transportation. Here it is. The other option, if they did not go to Vegas, the only other option they had for staying in Oakland was the Port of Oakland site. So, exactly. So their grand idea to keep this baseball team in Oakland and keep the citizens of Oakland with at least one professional sports team, their idea to save it was to put a baseball stadium in the middle of a port. Just right there.
Think of all the pollution and stuff you're going to have in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about just dank smells coming off of that bay,
right.
Straight into your face. You've got well, think about also just the workers of the port. You know, and think about it this way, right? If your place of work, another professional organization comes in and sets up right in the middle of your work, it's going to cause some problems. I would say the logistical problems of that are insane. Trying to build a stadium while also properly maintaining a port.
And I feel like that would really affect productivity too. If there's
true.
a baseball game going on over here, am I really going to break my back over here to unload this cargo, or am I going to kind of try to take a peek at that?
Absolutely not. But to be fair, there's no reason to watch the A's.
There you go. Okay.
But, you know, it wasn't just going to be the baseball stadium either. They were talking about putting in 3,000 luxury condos, 400 hotel rooms, and about 270,000 square feet of retail space. So they were just building a small town in the middle of a port.
Everybody's trying to be like the Braves now, you know?
Yeah.
Building a community.
I know. And so a good point was made here by one of the longshoremen that worked at the Port of Oakland. Of the 50 major U.S. ports, not one has a sports stadium in the middle of its bustling work zone.
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense, yeah. You know, he went on to add here, a stadium can be built almost anywhere, but a port can only be built on tidelands. That seems like a fairly good point.
Reasonable.
It's like you can build a stadium anywhere. You can't build a port in the middle of Kansas.
Right.
But that's what's going on in the world of sports and transportation, Corey.
Every now and then they blend together.
Every now and then they blend together.
It,
yeah, you sure do. Unless you're in Oakland, and then you hate to see it. But shout out to Vegas, man.
They're making moves.
Yeah. Let's take a Vegas trip. Go watch all the sports teams.
I'll be there next month.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This guy.
I'll just wait.
All right.
Hopefully I'll make it back for another episode.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I was gonna say we'll hear all about it when he comes back, if he comes back.
Right.
And I guess on that note, we'll be signing off. Good to see you guys, and we'll see y'all next week.